before the video starts, make sure you follow our socials in the description and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Welcome back to your podcast, people. Back again this week. There's been a little bit of time before the previous episode, so apologies for that, but back with a stellar guest today. Carl Prince, how are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm very well. Thanks for having me today, mate. Yeah.
Very happy coming and joined us. And then also Ant's making his debut on the podcast as well. Big Ant Duff.
Big
how
debut.
are you, mate?
Not too bad at all. It's been a long time in the coming.
It has been a long time in the coming, but I thought we've got an MMA, we need to have my mate who actually knows quite a bit about MMA. So
Like him into popping his cherry, mate.
Yeah, of course.
Honoured, mate, yeah. Famous last words. I don't know about MMA. Not going to know a single thing now.
So do you want to kind of introduce a little bit about kind of what you do?
Yeah, I'm Carl Prince. I'm the owner and head coach of Manchester Top Team. Within it, we have a multifaceted company. We've got like a management company. We have a cafe. We have a school upstairs. We're just like really trying to like do a full cross section of everything that that anyone walking through the door would need from the age of like 11 to 55. And it's going fantastically well so far.
I mean, it is going mental. We were talking a little bit just there about like the fighters you've got. You've got what, 40 odd?
Yeah, 42 pros and about the same amateurs now, so definitely a busy schedule. I had a weekend home this week with it being Easter and stuff like that, but back on the road again this weekend. But yeah, it's all good fun when you're following your passion and it's going so good. Yeah. Winning's easy, so we're celebrating good moments.
I mean, you can't complain really, especially because you were a pro fighter beforehand, weren't you?
No, I wasn't a professional fighter as such. I had like some amateur contests and stuff like that. I would never really bill myself as a fighter. I've definitely had a go, but I'm more sort of like a lifetime coach. I've actually been paid to be a professional at 3 sports, and along the way I was I ended up coaching them at the same time I was competing. Even when I was like 22 years old playing football, I was still like running the team as well, making sure that everyone was there, managing things, and it's kind of just always been my role. I've always kind of been better at saying than doing, and when doing became all right and everyone else's level got above that, I've been more better at saying. So
yeah, that's you can kind of play with. We had a lad who was very similar to that. So he's currently a pro kickboxer from Liverpool, and he was the same boat where he was just like, I was just literally coaching for free. Yeah. So now he does it for paid work.
Yeah, I've definitely done that and still do that along the way. So no, that's just a transition you make when you stop competing and you go into coaching. That you kind of like you're getting your name out there, getting your star out there, just by not giving it away, but making sure that the people help promote you and you promote them back. So that's how I started. I started working off at a boxing gym in Bolton in like 2013, and I've been a full-time coach since now. So 10 years now. Yeah.
10 years as well. And some of the fighters we were talking about. So you've got them kind of split in and around different promotions, and you up and down, kind of like UK and worldwide as well, haven't you, really?
Yeah, the blue sky had everyone get to the UFC, wouldn't they? But there's only 700 rostered athletes, I think, in the UFC, and I've got 40, so it'd be difficult to put everybody on that platform. That's everybody's goal, but I have to be honest with people as to where their trajectory is going and stuff like that. And also, there's good viable options. Obviously, we've got a number of people with the PFL, and when you go to the PFL, it's the same experience, really, just not as many people watch it. Yeah. If I'm honest, like when it's at the UFC, you come back and people who don't even know watch fighting, they'll send you a message saying, "Oh, I saw you on TV tonight," and everything like that. So that's like nice. It just means a lot more when it's the big stage. We go to the big stage every weekend, but to me, that's like the pinnacle of our sport, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Well, if you look at like some of the fighters you've got with PFL, so Lewis is with PFL at the moment, isn't
he? Lewis, we're just in discussions about him. Like signing a contract potentially and stuff like that on the back of his performance in Newcastle. Dakota's been there for like 3 fights. Dakota's like loosely with the gym. She's training in America as well, and with some other gyms in the Northwest. And then we got AB, a guy called Abram Babley. He's a heavyweight, a very exciting prospect. He's 3-0. He's with the PFL. He's been there since he was 1-0 and everything like that. So yeah, and we have a great relationship with him, and they want to come do shows in Manchester. They've signed up talent. They're going to do things. Obviously, Brendan being the champion of PFL brings the light to Manchester and things like that. So yeah, we have a great working relationship, and I've always kind of wanted a promotion that we could grow with, and they're growing. They need some stars. I believe they have a good platform, but not many marketable stars. They have good fights and good fighters, but like they see something in Lewis as well that they could really get behind, and their promotion will grow at the same time as him growing.
Yeah, he's quite prominent on social media as well. I've been seeing him on Instagram even now, because you spoke to me about Lewis, didn't you, a couple of weeks ago?
When I came to your gym last year.
Yeah.
And obviously, he was the biggest name at the time. I think it was Darren Till who mentioned him in his. He was in London after his fight on the London card. I think it's Aspinall versus. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, on the undercard.
But it was on the Aspinall undercard anyway. And he mentioned Lewis Mcgrillen. Obviously, he's been knocking everyone out, and he's obviously a very good character. which is obviously what the UFC looks for.
Yeah, and he's not playing a character. Some people, I would argue, that they're not being their organic self, whereas he's just being himself. He's just a violent kid who likes having.
He just likes to have a scrap, doesn't he?
Likes having a fight and stuff like that, and yeah, so it was great, really. The thing is, I've had Lewis since he was 14. He's 22 years old now, and all these things. It's kind of crazy, this situation with him, because we spoke about it so much, and we've come up through the ranks together, really. And when we got there, I just expected it. That everyone came out. There's like 4,000 people screaming his name, Lewis Mcgrillen and all this business. But it wasn't like something that sometimes you go somewhere and it's a mad experience. Like Lerone got booed in Abu Dhabi when he fought his first ever fight. Like the whole arena booed because he was fighting like Tukagov. It was like Khabib's card. So there's a multiple like Islamic stroke Russian crowd in there, and that was amazing. That was the best experience of my life. Still to this day, like the boos that we got was like the best experience of my life. Just that pure energy that you just breathed into and stuff like that, and that never could replicate that. And just watching him go out and everyone being behind him, and obviously the way that the fight finished out, I just think that it's already kind of preordained for him. We worked hard for it, and we put it out there, and we put it out there in the ether as well. And he's just going to go and really just excel and achieve all his goals and more besides.
You see that a lot of time on like Twitter, because I'm like most people. There's a lot of casual people who watch like the UFC, and they think that people go into the UFC and it's just like straight away. It's like the first fight, but they've been pros for years, haven't they? They've actually trained for it, and people are always shocked by how well sort of debutants are kind of performing. And you're like, well, it's not a debut. It's just debuting a new promotion.
I agree. Yeah, well, they might have fought 10 fights, but like I said to you, the magnitude of fighting on the UFC and the big crowd and the feeling that goes around it, it's a completely organic experience. And that to me is like the big show feel. So like with the likes of Lewis and Lerone to signify those two, like they're built for the big events. Their level like goes higher on the bigger fights. Like Lerone fought a guy last fight, Gabriel Santos, and watched loads of tape on him and thought that he was a good opponent, but he had like loads of holes and loads of things that he capitalised on. But on the night at the big show, he was 10x himself. He was a bigger person in there. He was a much better fighter because I call it game day fighters. He's a game day guy. Like on game day, he puts it together. And the bigger the crowd, the bigger the performance and things like that. So I'm fortunate that I've kind of like along the way I understood this, and we've done a lot of social media training. We've done all this training with regards like normalising everything. Doesn't matter, like in COVID we were walking out and there was nobody there, and then after COVID there's like 10,000 people screaming your name. So we've got to normalise it all, and the fact that eventually and ultimately it's just you versus somebody else. The cage door shuts, and hopefully the three people on the outside, including myself, can impart a little bit of wisdom that helps you get to your destination a bit quicker. So yeah, just normalising things, normalising the big events, and it's been going good.
So what is that experience like when you are on that? Because obviously you went to the UFC London. Lerone fought on that card, didn't he? So what is that UFC kind of fight day look like for yourself as a trainer and also Lerone as a fighter?
Everybody's different. So with regards to Lerone, up until all fight week, he would be like is himself, and on fight day he'll go into himself a little bit, just get focused, go a little bit quiet, and there were times where you're trying to like tiptoeing around a little bit, just trying to get to the bus, really. Yeah. Usually like the bus comes about 6 p.m. and then you're ready to go for the fight. This time was a bit early because it was on like the undercard, but when we fought in Abu Dhabi on one of the COVID cards at Fight Island, we actually travelled to the venue at 5:30 in the morning, because it was like done for pay-per-view in America and things like that. So it was a long day of hurry up and wait, I call it. Just hurrying up to get to a certain point to wait to sit down again, because you have like a preordained schedule that you get picked up at 2, you get your hand wrapped at 5, and there's a lot of waiting in the time, and that's the moments where the fight can be won and lost. So for me, even if I'm nervous, which I am sometimes, not all the time, but which I am sometimes, I have to like portray that I'm not. Yeah. So for me, it's like I've got to like have it exude like play my poker face around those guys and just fill them with confidence, and just because if they see that I'm a bit nervous, then they would only like react in kind.
What is it that normally like fuels the nerves though? Because obviously, like I appreciate it might be the expectation where you've done all this training, all this preparation, obviously for it not to go your way. But like other than that, like what is that it, or is it more?
Well, that's definitely the driving factor, isn't it? Because like winning is the best feeling and a crazy amount of dopamine and crazy stuff that goes through your body afterwards, especially on the UFC. Whereas losing is the worst feeling in the entire world. And it's like, really, there's nothing that you can say of comfort afterwards. You can say the right things, but even the right things at the time, it's like do you know, in other sports, you get to get another goal. But for this one, we trained for like 10 weeks. And all throughout the 10 weeks, you're not a moment that you're thinking that you're not going to win. So it's all like geared towards winning. In fact, you get double the amount of money if you do win. So you've already spent, say you're getting 10 plus 10, you've already spent 20 grand in your head.
Yeah.
So then when you get 10 grand, it's like it's a big loss. So but you can't think about these factors going in. It's just a case of performing, isn't it, and being the best version of yourself and just hanging on for that. But in the back of your mind, yeah, that winning and losing and getting embarrassed and becoming a meme, it is in there sometimes. So you got to take that away. That's not what gets you nervous. Just like the expectation of we've built up to this point. It's like almost like a performance, isn't it? I've trained for 12 weeks to perform, and I like the emphasis is on performing.
Interesting. So like, when you train with people like Lerone and Lewis and these people who are having these big fight nights, are you training as much physical as you are mental as well? Like, does a lot of mental training come in
Always.
as well?
Well, fighting's 90% mental and the other 10%'s in your head, isn't it? Someone famously said that, and I just echo that. Like, it's warfare, isn't it? And warfare is like multiple, isn't it? It's not just physical; it has to be psychological.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
so yeah, if you think you can or you can't, you're right. So you have to instill that level of confidence. And I would say, like, I like more so the mental training is what's of interest to me. The theory of it is what's of interest to me, as well as obviously the technique and stuff like that. So you just need leadership in all ways, and how to get to a certain point and what it's going to feel like, because it feels different every time. You might be a person that's like cool, calm, collected, you never get nervous. So the one day you get nervous, what do? Just shit the bed because you got nervous. You have to be like, all right, this is what's expected of me. I'm getting nervous for a reason. It helps me switch on. It's like that fight or flight mentality,
Yes.
isn't it? You see like animals in the wild, like deers, for instance, they'll see like prey, and straight away you can see like the whole body switches onto it, the central nervous system, the nerve endings and like that. So nerves are good. Tyson spoke about it, like, and cussed them out about being the fire, isn't it? The fire can either burn me or it can keep me warm. So just got to make sure that it's the thing that's keeping you warm rather than encapsulating you and taking over.
And does it also help with people like Lewis who've been with you since they're 14? Does having them from that young age, does that really give them a bit of an advantage rather than coming in like 20, 21 from another gym?
Yeah, I don't know if it gives us an advantage, but it's definitely a benefit to me. Like I've grown up with him, he's grown up with me, and I know what to say, what not to say. I know what he's going to react well to. I know what he's going to react. Like, it's just my management, isn't it? And I got that from football. I was managing 30 people at the same time, so now I'm just replicating the same thing with him fighting. Some people need an arm round the shoulder. Some people need shouting at like a dog. But like, if you shout at someone like a dog, they're going to react negatively to maybe at home throughout the whole life growing up. All they got were people shouting at them, so that gets them into a negative mindset where you got to like put your arm around your shoulder. But there's moments for it all, and everything's got a timing and stuff like that. So yeah, with Lewis, I know exactly what's going to push him forward. I know exactly what's going to pull him back. So it's up to me in order to do that. Like, for instance, when he came in for his last fight, we'd already been at the venue. One of the guys had already fought, and he arrived a bit later. And he came and he was already in fight mode, and he had like a bit of time to get to it.
Yeah.
As soon as he started hitting the pads, he was hitting them hard, hitting me hard, and things like that. And it just had to be a case of like, listen, you're always going to be aggressive. You're always going to be an angry person. It's a benefit of you. It's your key goal. But we've got to be smart. We've got to be sinister. We've got to like find our moments, because we was already trying to impose power on somebody else. You're like obviously going to telegraph your movements, make what you're doing is obvious, and be too deliberate. And if you're too deliberate, you're too easy to read. Like I said, it's warfare, it's deception. It's almost like chatting to your girlfriend. You've got to tell them half truths to make sure that the other half truth doesn't emanate. You've got to keep moving like honestly, like moving the envelope a little bit and everything like that. Just a way to get to a certain point. And yeah, sometimes like if you watch Leon Edwards when he won the title, that's needed sometimes, that motivation in between rounds, someone telling you what you're doing. But also, it isn't always needed. Like, some people want to like get on that motivational stuff all the time, whereas sometimes it's time to be real. So yeah, just like judging every case is what it is, and hoping that you do the best job. My job is safe passage for my guys.
Yeah.
I got to look after them. I've got to make sure that I put them there in the best capabilities whilst they're in there, and make sure that they're behaving well. And if it's not going our way, I'll throw the towel in a heartbeat to look after my guys. Yeah.
That's interesting. What do you? So you mentioned obviously probably one of the biggest fighters, definitely in Britain at the moment, Leon Edwards. What do you think, like, people like Bisping, Leon Edwards, what do you think they have done for like the British fighting community? Because obviously 5-10 years ago, it's not as big as it was. Nowadays it's massive in the UK. Do you think like they have been like a big driving factor
Yeah,
get people into the ring.
success breeds success, doesn't it? And everything like that. And so, with people, you got to understand the people that are watching that are most successful, the people in fighting, the people don't have anything, because if you have nothing, you have to fight for everything else. So, like, they see that through hard work, and Leon Edwards and Bisping are great examples, because they had a few bumps in the road, but they stayed steady with the resolve. They worked on things that they needed to work on, and they had a resounding belief, and they had an unshakable belief that one day they would become champion. And that's massive. Like I said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So if I believe that I can be champion, I can be champion. If I believe I'm the best in the world, I can be the best in the world. Some people are fantastic athletes, fantastic at the sport, but mentally they don't believe. And if you don't believe, it gets hard in there no matter how good you are. And if your belief system isn't fantastic, you're going to start looking for a soft place to land and say, and wish you could be better. You've got to believe all throughout that you're only 1 second away from winning the fight.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're already beat.
I mean, it's like going into that last round, wasn't he? Edwards, he was down on cards, wasn't he?
Well, they were like the commentators were writing his obituary, weren't
they?
Yeah,
they were completely.
But side by side, weren't they?
Yeah.
And headshot dead straight away. Can't say that's iconic now. Even at work, everyone's just going around, headshot dead everywhere.
It's even the coldest picture when he fought Usman for the second time. The typical Usman obviously walks up at obviously when they're introducing the names, trying to intimidate him. And it's just psychological straight away from the off, I suppose.
You could see it. He knew he was winning that fight.
Usman, in that second fight, looked like a shadow of himself.
He did.
He couldn't get the takedowns, obviously that's his game plan out the window. Whereas if you look at the fight just gone this weekend with Izzy and Alex, it just didn't affect him, it seemed.
I think it definitely affected him. If you saw the way he celebrated after the fight, I would suggest...
he went over to his kid.
But that's who we are. We're competitors, aren't we? And if someone's made me look foolish in the public forum, then that's just extra impetus for him to do that. And I would suggest I would almost do the same, because we don't forget. Do you know, if people say things bad about us, we'll smile and we'll be okay with it. We expect it. Like, in fact, I want more haters, if I'm honest, because it just means I'm doing something good. Like, the more people who hate on what you're doing, it just means that you're doing more than them. So it's like that's what you want. So yeah, that's what you expect. That's what you're gonna feel, isn't it? So if someone had took the piss out of me, made me look like an idiot in front of people, I'm going to make sure that when it's my time and my turn, I'm going to own it. Like, I appreciate martial arts is about being humble and things like that, and there's moments to be humble, but when you're good at something, when you've done something good, own it, have your moment. And that's I loved his I almost got tearful yesterday, his speech afterwards about resolve and how someone's got like your foot on your neck and everything. Like, it just resonates with me. It's my driving factor. Like, I want to prove people wrong. I want to prove everybody that said that I couldn't do what we're doing and what we're going to continue to do. I want to see them and give them a big smile, kill them with kindness, and want to be like, listen, you're wrong and I was right.
Yeah, I was right straight away.
I'll continue to prove you wrong, and if it means me throwing on the floor in front of somebody else's son, I'll do that, because that's what it is. He did the same to me. He just did it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that hatred was built up over. Since when was that knockout? Was it 2013, 14 or something?
His first fight, wasn't it?
It was the second
fight. Was it the second fight they had? Well, that's right, a few now, aren't they? Which is mental. I love that. That must have been a driving factor in his training all the way through that. But as you were talking about like hate and all that sort of stuff, because you've obviously started Manchester Top Team from the ground up. So what was it like when you first sort of started out? Because there wasn't really anything around in Manchester. You obviously got the Liverpool gyms. Yeah. You got gyms up and down the country.
Well, there was always loads of gyms around in Manchester, but we're funny people in Manchester.
Yeah.
We think that we can do it better than everybody else, myself included. So there's actually other gyms in the same town that we're in and just up the road. So it just needed someone to pull it all together and not make it about them, really. Because sometimes, like, power's a thing, isn't it? If I want power, then I want to be in charge. But I don't want power to be in charge. I just want the power of attorney so I can bring everything together and push everybody forward. It's not about me. In fact, I'm not bothered about being seen. I don't care if nobody knows my name, as long as like when I walk down the street and someone's like, yes, Mcgrillen, keep knocking them out, and that, I think that's the biggest thrill ever to me. When Lerone gets a stop together picture talk, I'm like, this is just like validation of the work that we're doing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not about. We needed someone to put it together in Manchester. It was very difficult. Like I've alluded to, I didn't have the most illustrious career as a fighter. I've been a lifetime coach, so straight away people will pour scorn on that. Like, yeah, go to this guy because he's the best fighter because he's this and that. But it doesn't always translate. You can use any example within sport, professional sport, that really the best professional coaches were not the best professional athletes. They understood the game, the intricacies of it. In fact, I would argue, like I really understand in my brain, but my body does not understand that well.
Yes.
So because my brain has to understand
you're two steps ahead, aren't you, in here when you are kind of in your body, aren't you?
Well, hopefully you're in unison, but I would argue that my brain understood it better than my body did. So I had to research more. In fact, when I had to go through movement and motion, I had to like really think about it, where I put my foot, where I put my weight, and that's what I'm breaking down to other people, like better athletes than I am, so I can work on like the small details and intricacies of movement, which I really had to focus on in order for me to get to an acceptable level, whereas these guys are at like the level where 0.1% can take them up to the next level. So that's where my job comes in. I would say in lockdown through COVID, we really benefited because we had Lerone. We had a permission to train from the government because he's an elite level competitor. That's why like the football teams could still train because they were elite level athletes, and this was our way to make an income. So by virtue of that, we were the really only gym in Greater Manchester that could open. So people got wind of it that we were open. Pros came over from other gyms. People came and tried it out, and they never left. They just stayed because maybe what we're doing was a better service for them, and then by that it multiplied. Then by the success of people doing what they're doing on the global stage, it's caught lightning in a bottle, and we just kept moving with it and just stayed steady. We work harder than everybody else. There's no secret to success. I wish there was like a magic pill that I could give you all to eat.
100%. We'd all wish that, wouldn't we?
Just consistency and hard work, and I'm prepared to work forever in order to get to the goal, because I don't believe that we've achieved anything. It's nice that people come up to me and say, "Oh, you're doing good, this is going well," but I'm not content with where we're at. We didn't come this far to just get to this point, so we got to keep working. Like we've got to work harder than we ever have done before, because at the top level, it's the top level in it, and we want to be. Well, I want to have multiple champions in the UFC, in the PFL, in Bellator, in all the major organisations, and there's no reason why not. And maybe like you got to say the things that people will laugh at. So I'm prepared to say we'll be the best team that would ever come out of Europe, and maybe the world eventually, because we'll never stop working until we get there. And if we don't get there, we'll get as close as anybody ever come to it.
Yeah, definitely. I love the mindset you were talking through there about the best athletes, not always the best coach and stuff. Because I've been saying it for years about pundits. Like why? Yeah, I don't. Like,
if it's football, you got to play for Liverpool.
Oh, I know the Liverpool. I don't get pundits in football, especially. Like why are, and even in boxing sometimes. Like I don't think Beller's a good pundit. He pisses me off. Like he's not impartial anyway.
Doesn't that make him a good pundit? The thing I've done
to be fair, you were saying that.
I've done a bit of commentary, and I've done a bit of in the office, and that's harder. Like commentating is easy because you've got an active thing that's revolving, whereas really all four stood there facing the camera. Yeah? There's like 20,000 people or something crazy, and then they point the question at you. You don't know what the question is.
I suppose that is a good way of looking at it.
And then you got to fill that space and fill the time. And then you got someone in your ear. It's hard. You got someone in your ear saying, "Yes, Tony, you got another 2 minutes." And you're like, shit, I've got to talk for 2 minutes. I don't even know what I'm talking about now. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think they do a very hard job. I do agree with you. I do agree with what you're saying. But then other people want to hear it from fighters. They want to hear it from people who've done it, don't they?
Yeah, I suppose,
They want to hear it from people who are actively doing it or have done it. It adds extra value to it and everything like that.
You do see some, like, because I follow quite a few like social media creators, and so often I'm listening to them and I'm like, why have I never thought that? And just because they're not a pro fighter and not a pro footballer and they're not there at that stage, and you're like, you know more than Graham Souness.
Yeah, but I bring people onto the mat from different places because we see things with our eyes, and collectively we kind of had the same eye because we're looking at it from a sport-based perspective. But there's other aspects to it. There's a business side of it. There's what other people are looking for. Like, there's not for the purists. No one's as interested as I am about a wrist control from a certain position and grabbing a leg. And if I was just like for instance, I think Dominic Cruz is one of the best commentators, but other people would say he was boring because he breaks down technique and he talks about the actual fight. Whereas Bissing's having a laugh, and he's just taking the piss out of somebody else next to him and stuff like that. So it's all personalities, isn't it, and what everyone's listening for.
I suppose that's why it works then with the mix they have and all stuff there. But you get people who are universally like, don't you, like people like your Joe Rogans who are just.
But yeah, if you're going to talk about Graham Souness, I'll echo your thought. Most Scottish pundits, when you meet Scottish people, they're very, very upbeat and everything like that. But most Scottish pundits are miserable, aren't they?
They are.
Like Jim Watt in boxing, he was like miserable, and then even going back in the day when it was like Alan Hansen back on.
Oh, Alan Hansen. He was on Match of the Day, wasn't it? He was just always negative about everything.
Very negative guy. So yeah, maybe that's what's needed as well, because it's like if you like a fighter, you might not like him, but you're going to watch him in the hope that he loses, aren't you?
That's what I do personally all the time.
Yeah. Whether you like me or you don't like me, you're still tuning in and watching, aren't you?
I mean, a big example of that is probably Jake Paul recently.
I didn't want to
Fury, wasn't it? Nobody wanted someone to win. Everybody wanted someone to lose in that fight. I felt like,
definitely,
and everyone was just waiting for that killer fight, really, and that killer sort of.
Hey, it was a good fight. By the way, it was a very good fight. I enjoyed it, mate, for 10 months of 10 rounds of it. It was really, because I didn't know what was going to happen. Then Tommy got dropped in the last round and everything like that. And we'd had a little bit to do with Tommy in the camp. I took some guys up to spar there, and like the guy that was training with Alex Matvienko was like my original boss, really, the first gym that I worked at and stuff like that. So we went up there and took a few guys and got involved with the camp and with Big John and things like that. So we were definitely cheering Tommy on to win. So we were delighted when he got the nod.
What's Big John like then? We got to ask the question. Is he exactly the same?
Yeah, exactly what you think you were like. Yeah, he's just that big brash character who's going to say exactly what he thinks and everything like that. And that was good because I took Lewis and Louis down because I knew that John were going to be there, and like they wanted to meet him and things like that. And he just said like just some things that resonated with him. He understands. You know, when you get a little bit older, you understand your role. You understand that you've got to you can drop like one little bit of pearl of wisdom into the guys about what's the difference between being good and world class and things like that. So it was classy. They had a great experience. They got to meet him, and he spoke to him like it was like he was a pal.
Just mates, yeah.
So it was fantastic, like, yeah.
Oh, perfect. Well, I think we'll have a quick break and then come back for part 2. I really want to dive into the mindset a lot more because I think this is why I love having fighters on, because the mindset is just so different to what I'm used to. So I love to dive into that mindset.
Yeah, I'd love to dive into yours. Let's figure out what.
Perfect. See you then. And we are back, part 2, people. Nice little break there. So we were discussing a little bit in the break, and we got to go back to it, aren't we? Because I need to get this on camera. So obviously, the main big guy in UFC is Dana White, and you had the privilege to meet him, didn't you?
Yeah, one of my business partners, Luke Bardsley, was in the UFC in the mid-2010s, and he had a good relationship with Dana. He was on like the broadcast a few times and things like that. So yeah, when Lerone did get to the big show, we were fortunate Luke like arranged like a little bit of a meeting with him. We had to sit down and everything like that, and he's always been like very, 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 very nice to us and stuff like that. So yeah, I think the first time I ever met him though in person, I was walking across, you know, when you do like the weigh-in, like the ceremonial weigh-in and stuff like that. So when you walk with your fighter, you all walk and they stand there and you continue to walk. So that's when you shake Dana's hand. I remember I was like 5 steps away from him and I thought, sometimes I have very, very sweaty palms, and today was one of those days, and I was like wiping it on my ass as much as I possibly could, but this dead wet fish, that was probably my first encounter.
First meeting.
But hopefully they didn't judge me too much after that. So no, it's been good. He sends like some howlers head to us when Lerone won and everything like that. So yeah, a great relationship with the boss, and good to see him like going so healthy and being a good poster child for that too, of everybody now too.
Spent on it.
I suppose on connection to that, have you ever had the privilege of meeting Joe Rogan? Just because I know he doesn't really often come to the UK, does he?
No, never met Joe Rogan, but that's definitely on the bucket list. I'd love to get one of the, like for me, in terms of goals, it would be to get one of my guys on the Joe Rogan Experience. That would be like a fantastic thing for
bucket
me.
list.
Yeah, like if one, like say Lewis or Lerone or anybody from the gym was to get on there as one of his guests, that would be like a big thrill for me.
Yeah, that's a big one of mine. My like goal for this next year or the next 2 years is to get on another podcast. As in, like, I want to be invited onto another podcast, because I invite every different sort of. I've had like musicians, comedians on. I've had pro fighters, pro footballers. But I really want to get on someone else's podcast. I just feel like that'll be like, it's the next step in it. When you get invited somewhere else, it's a bit like...
Yeah, and it's definitely nice. So thanks for inviting me today and everything like that. I really enjoy talking and just conversing with people. And I think sometimes with the speed of life and phones and like how busy you are, you very rarely get to sit down and like converse about something for an hour, especially. Like sometimes maybe for like 5 minutes here and there, or I'm on my way to the next appointment and you get to say hello to somebody. So no, I really enjoy it. Yeah.
That's why I do it in person. That is literally the reason why I do it in person, because I had a guest who's like a big city sort of journalist, and I said about we do it in person, and he was a bit standoffish. He wanted to do it over Zoom, and I was like, but you don't get to meet him. Like,
it's emotionless, isn't it?
Yeah.
And on Zoom, it's just the same questions. Like when we sit on the media scrum and it's on Zoom, it's like, how are you feeling? Yeah, I'm good. It's like... It's
boring.
It's all,
but you don't get to meet someone, like having a little 5-minute chat before sort of like you start and just kind of, you get a better vibe when you meet someone, don't you? And it always helps as well moving forward. Like there's some people I've had on here where I'm genuinely good mates with them now. Like, there was a footy manager creator I watched for years. Managed to get him on, and he's literally a mate now. Yeah. And I'm like, it's just weird when you look at it like that.
Was he playing for Torquay back in the day? They're in the little hacks, and like that was 1994 when I started playing that. So I used to love that.
Oh yeah,
that's all I got all my stats from like Football Manager, well, Championship Manager it was called back in the day and everything like that. So yeah, I can't believe you met him. That's like.
I'm actually started. I'm moving into the Football Manager sort of. So I've been invited to go on a Football Manager tournament, so you can stream Football Manager on like Twitch and programs like that.
Did you say you had a bird?
Yeah,
and you're allowed to play Championship Manager, mate. That's a good way to lose a weekend, mate.
Yeah, all I'm gonna say is I have to do it carefully. When she's on like Sims or another game, that's when I get to move on. Okay, you've got to co-manage it. If she's bored of her game, I'm bored of my game.
Yeah, I hate this game.
Oh yeah, yeah. I would never play that game. I never do that. As soon as she's on it, straight away get on my laptop out. You've got to converse, haven't you?
Yeah. I get that.
Play the game a little bit, 100%. So we were talking a little bit sort of like the mindset of like, obviously you've got your coaching mindset and you've got kind of like the fighter's mindset there as well for you. So obviously, how would you sort of deal with all the different sort of mindsets you've got? Because obviously you never turn anyone away, but you've got like Lewis, who's dead big out there, proper outgoing. I mean, you've got people like Lerone, who's a bit more reserved.
Yeah.
So you're constantly like evolving, constantly changing your tactics.
Yeah. See, the thing is, it's an entertainment business, isn't it? Like, UFC's not billed as a sport, it's billed as entertainment. So part of your job is to talk about yourself and talk about your job. Because this is all we've ever done, and we're just ourselves. We just think that everybody's like us. So I always like implore them and like just to go out there and talk about their own unique experience, because they are unique to you. The way you got to this point is very unique to you, and it's important that that's your story, that's your sell, isn't it? That's how you can entertain people, by being yourself. I don't like it when people perhaps play characters and play a role and things like that, because your story is good enough. So yeah, like when someone's withdrawn, I want to bring it out of them. Like, honestly, I would suggest that Lerone is withdrawn, but not with the media now. Like when we was at the last UFC in London, again, another proud dad moment almost. I'm stood there like beaming from ear to ear just because he owned the room. Do you know what I mean? Whereas before, he would be a little bit more timid and wait for like questions and stuff like that. Whereas it's like, this is my room, that I own this, that you're all here coming to talk to me, and it should be seen as, I always say, when you're getting interviewed of someone, the best way to think about it is, that's just a geek with a camera. Like, if you didn't have a camera, you'd speak to him normally. So,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
So what's the difference? So just about, you got to tell everybody your story. So whatever your story is, that someone's interested in that, because someone can relate to it. Maybe someone can get inspired by where you've come from, where you're at, or even where you're going. So just that's what people want to see. Like, even me now, sometimes I pay much more attention to the UFC embedded than I do fights, like, because I'm invested in the backstories and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
So like, if you're like, that's why TV shows work, like dramas that go on like Coronation Street, because and even like the likes of Jake Paul, these YouTubers, people think they know him because every week they have a conversation where that person talks to them about what they've been doing for them for 30 minutes. Sometimes the people go home and they don't speak to their own family like that. They don't know what their family doing, but they know where Jake Paul's been that week, or they know where this fighter's doing, or why he's at this stage in his camp, and how he's got there, how he's going to feel. Like, if you talk about Adesanya, how he's going to feel after the fight with Pereira, how much he's hanging on it with a boogeyman, maybe this is his career finished. You're invested, there's character development. So if you want people to get invested with you, you've got to invest back. It's like, if you got a kid, and you don't give them any energy, they're never going to give you energy back. It's energy in, energy out. So in order to get the acclaim, you've got to give back. That's why people like really resonated with McGregor at the start, because he told his story.
Yeah, he was real. He was completely real, wasn't he? When you watched him in the press conferences, you were like, he's just a proper Irish. That's why the Irish loved him, because it was the Irish that followed him everywhere, didn't they? Yeah. It was just him. Just one of their own.
And when it comes to handling mentality, like you said, you really spoke about the right word. It's about being real. Like, some people will tell you they're feeling mega confident. I'm doing this. There's no way this guy's going to beat me. And I'm like, I don't believe you. You're trying to convince yourself. That makes sense. Like, some people are just trying to convince themselves that they do have these feelings. Where I just like real me. If someone says to me, you know what, coach, I feel a bit nervous about this fight. This guy's pretty good in these areas, and then that's my job, then to allay those fears. Because I think, like, once you speak about something, like, say for instance, it's how I got anxiety, but I don't tell anybody about it. It owns me. But if I just let somebody know about it, its hold over me is somewhat less because I've spoken about it. So I just always ask them to just be open and honest about me, about how they're feeling, about how things are going outside of it, because I can help you then. But if you're lying to me, then, and you're only lying to yourself, then you put yourself in a little bit of a hole that's get out of. So it's just about being open and honest. I'm feeling like this. I never felt like I felt better last time. I felt that because then we can get in and go through our own like psychological stuff and try to get you to a different point, but only if you speak about it. So what's most important is conversation and communication, because without that you're dead. Like some people, like coaches will text them or they won't speak to them or they'll have to go up to them and talk to them, but I was like, I'll know when something's wrong. We'll say, you all right, mate? Everything all right? And there might be a moment where you say, yeah, sweet. But later on that night, maybe you'll send me a message saying, thanks for asking. I was just going through some things, or this is really getting me down, or this outside factor. Because like when you sign for a football team, the first thing they do is take you to the dentist. And it never made sense to me. But then I was like, but whenever you've a problem with your teeth, you're the most miserable. Your own energy is like at zero, because that nagging pain of nerve pain is like the worst pain.
I never knew that. That's really interesting.
So you want to make sure that your teeth are in a good position, because mentally you'll be in a better spot and everything like that. It's just about that, like handling expectations, but handling the mental side of it, because everyone has those blips, don't they? Everyone has those bumps in the road. Like I'm a confident person. I believe in my capabilities. But there's moments when I'm insecure. Do you know what I mean? And I might not speak about them at that moment, but the day after, I'll be like, yo, yesterday someone said that and it made me feel insecure. In fact, when I went to the UFC, I put on a bit of weight. And a few people said to me, fucking hell, mate, you put on a bit of weight. And it's all right when you say it. And people always like say, oh, but yeah, fat shaming's a bad thing. Don't fat shame. It's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Oh, yeah, because it makes you see things from a different
Like,
perspective.
I knew I put on weight, but you can't say it to me. And I'm like, that makes you want to be better, doesn't it? That inspires you to be better and things like that.
As long as they're not doing it in a nasty way and it's just like a joke you make. Sometimes a joke you make, you can be like, actually, shit, yeah, that's actually correct there. I'm going to get it.
Bit harsh.
Let's get in the gym then. And it's proving people wrong, isn't it? Because you're going to be like, well, now I want to now lose weight.
I don't want to live in grey. I just like, my life's busy and all that. I'm not, it's complicated, so I like black and white. You're either that or you're that.
Yeah.
He like, when people are like, oh, yeah, that's all right, and they go away and say, fucking hell, Prince is putting a bit of weight. I know you should say something to him. Well, what's he been doing and everything? I'd rather someone say, yeah, mate, what have you been eating?
Yeah, I would prefer that as well, 100%. But I'm a typical outspoken man. I'm just say what's on my mind, and it's just one of them, innit?
I'm definitely one of them too, mate. Yeah, you're definitely getting a bit more trouble than that trouble. But at least you get out. At least everyone knows where they stand then. I find that's a bit easier, isn't it?
Like you said, with mindset and like the anxiety side of things, this is just going off the interview that I seen from Israel Adesanya when he did the meet and greet in Manchester. He spoke quite a bit in depth about, on a build-up and a training camp, you kind of take yourself to dark places, obviously expected, to try and get yourself in the mode for that fight. But then the actual hardest part is post-fight, because obviously you basically mentally prepared yourself to go and die, for war, for everything like that. So it's like quite a dark place, he said afterwards.
Yeah, it's mad though. I thought I was the only person that ever felt like that. I'll say it in a way that maybe some of your viewers could relate to. Do you know, like, say if you've been saving for an holiday for 6 months,
yes,
and then when you get back, you get the holiday blues, don't you?
It's
very like I felt like that as a kid. I remember when I went to Cornwall, I come back from Cornwall, like, what do I do now?
Yeah,
like we have purpose, but we only have purpose when we have a date. So say, for instance, someone says to me, right, Carl, you're fighting on July 11th. So all my life is geared towards July 11th. But on July the 12th, you're like, what do I do now? I have no direction. I have no purpose. And sometimes I would say this, you have an expectation of how it's going to feel. But I'm happily surprised in moments where it feels good, because I don't really celebrate things I expect them. But when it goes bad, I'll be miserable for a week or two. Mm-hmm. When it goes good, I'm like, all right, that was good, next. Do you know what I mean? But like sometimes you got to celebrate those moments. I saw Adesanya was celebrating the moments. I saw he was out there like really enjoying his moment. You have to do that, because like learning from my own experiences, whenever I had something like so fantastic that would probably be the pinnacle and peak of somebody else's life, and I'd be like, all right, Sam, what's next? Whereas I've got to be like, all right, I got to July 11th, I won the fight. Like now I'm going to build towards the next one and stuff like that. So yeah, it's the highest highs and the lowest lows straight away, because the 2 weeks leading up to the fight, everyone's like saying, all right, can I get you an interview? Can I get speaks about this? But then the week after it, they're on about the next fight, Cejudo versus Sterling.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Like yesterday, like today's newspaper is tomorrow's dog shit roll, innit? Do you know what I mean? That's just the way it is. So yeah, the highest highs and the lowest lows. It's funny you should bring that up, yeah.
Yeah, definitely, because that was one of the most interesting parts when he came to Manchester that I took from it. just as well. Like I met Leon Edwards at the exact same event, and he was on the, I can't remember now, he was on the period where he got a load of fight cancelled, and like that, how that affected him was quite deep too.
Yeah.
Because obviously a lot of people saying he didn't deserve the title shot as early as he got one, but because I think he was inactive for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
But then obviously...
Yeah, with the Bilal Muhammad fight and a lot of injury pull-outs with Hamzat and stuff like that. So, now it's difficult, isn't it? Because you've got to justify yourself to somebody else all the time.
Yeah.
And things like that. So, you've got to stay on your path. Like, I would say this, and this is like the strangest thing for everybody else to hear, but to me, winning's quite empty. It doesn't, like, I'm surprised when it makes me feel good. Because I like winning, but I hate losing. That makes sense. Like, I like winning. It's a great feeling, but I despise losing. So as long as I don't get to feel like that, I'm happy. But like, sometimes, like, say the biggest one was when Lerone knocked out Amir Khan. I remember we was in the back, and after the fight, you have to go around to do the interviews with this person, and the media thing. And I remember 45 minutes later, it felt like I'd had as many narcotics as you could possibly have.
Yeah.
I was still like rushing through my whole body, like, I can't believe that just happened and stuff like that. And even though you've expected it, it was just like, for me, it was one of the again, another feeling I'll never forget, because I felt like unbelievable.
Yeah. Like weightless.
Yeah, like unbelievable. Like someone was just blowing this energy into my body that was just on every inhale was just like going through my body. So but usually to me, winning's like kind of empty. I'm like, okay, next. Like, all right, I expected that.
Yeah. But if you lose, it would really resonate with you.
Yeah, and then sometimes when you lose, you got to fly home for 10 hours with the person that's just lost.
Yeah,
sat next to you. So it's like, and there's nothing you can say to make it better.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you could, like, you can say a few things that might gain a little bit of solace, but 10 minutes later, they forgot about what you said, and they're still like wallowing in because as a man, like, to lose at football, just lost at football, there's 10 other people involved. To lose at swimming doesn't matter. Losing a race doesn't matter. But as a man, like, for my bringing up, I want to beat everybody up. I want to be the hardest, but I want to be the cock of the school. After I finish school, I want to be the cock of these conversations. So that's your position as a person, isn't it? And you're not just a fighter to fight. You're a fighter to be the best. And if someone knocks you off your perch and losing, it's a big come down, and it's something that some people never recover from.
Interesting. It's a great mindset. It's great. So, John, like with your like coaches, obviously your mindset is very similar to a lot of the big coaches with like other sports as well. Is there any like coaches out there that you look up to and kind of like to emulate you within yourself?
I'm a big blue, so I like Pep Guardiola.
There we go. We were both. I was looking at him and I was like, we know what's coming here. Because we're massive blues as well.
Yeah. So yeah, just the mindset and the I think I get it more so from like your outliers. You're people who've not only just become the best in their sport, they like transcended their sport, like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And there's loads of good books written about him and his mentality and mindset and like the winning things. And I'd even go to a United player like a Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, like someone that like 30 years after they've stopped playing, people still talk about, like, when I was a kid, that was George Best, like my dad's generation, or George Best, and then it was Maradona. And then for my generation, it was Zidane and perhaps even Scholes. I spoke about too many United players there, but
let's go see. So it's Colin Bell, and then we'll work our way through. My dad talks about Ali Benarbia.
Ali Benarbia was the man. And George.
See, my dad, Ali Benarbia was like, he's God.
Yeah, Ali and George, they were the golden ages, mate. Yeah, in the 90s of what we had. But there was a god of League One, mate. We're now talking about people that transcend the sport. So yeah. That we all have our own idols, but I look to the people at the very, very top, and not just. I think getting to the top is achievable, but getting to the top, staying to the top, and becoming like an icon, a legend, like Jordan did. And I'm a big fan of American sports, but like people who transcended their own sport and become something else, like kind of what McGregor did for a little bit. He became a bit bigger than the sport, and what they always did is like they worked harder than everybody else, and they're obsessed. Like I'm generally obsessed. Like generally, I have my 3 daughters, I have my missus. Outside that, it's just fighting. I don't do anything else. I don't really have many friends in the social circle that I used to have before it. I just do this because I'm a firm believer. If you want to be something that people talk about, you have to be obsessed. It's like a computer game, yeah? So say if I go on a computer game with 10 levels on it, I could try to be okay at all 10 levels, or I could just master one. And when I master one, I know when this NPC is coming out, when all these things come out, I can know the level inside out. I know where I can jump and get a coin or something if it's Mario. I'm obsessed by it, so that no one can beat me. I need to know more. I've got a first, I think from Championship Manager, from Football Manager, I had a thirst for knowledge and knowing more about people, about who transferred from Southampton in 2004 for the main. I needed to know those things.
I've got some shit football knowledge, you know, where I'm like we play something. Someone asked me a lot of questions at work, and we were playing like when you name clubs and you have to name a player who's played for them, and they were going down all these clubs, and they got to Sydney FC, and straight away I was like, manager, I'm a football manager. No, exactly. Adam Lafonja, straight away I was like, I know who it is straight away.
I'm sick at geography from it. From football. I know like where places are and
like flags and shit like
and
that.
I like knowing things. My autistic brain wants to know things that are like
I agree.
And stuff like that. So I just like found that and did that through fighting. I've become like an MMA encyclopedia. Really, I used to work for a Russian organisation, and they called me like the MMA doctor because I would just know who was going to be about at what weight classes, and I've done like a bit of matchmaking. I've done like 200 events or something like that. So in order to bring the guys' stars forward, I've had to like delve into like the inner dealings of it. So I understand the business. That's why within understanding the business, I understand it's not romantic. Everyone wants to be romantic about it, but it just chews you up and spits you out. Like, you know, from back in the day, Don King and boxing, that was like the toughest sport and the roughest sport ever. But like, fighters are just greyhounds. Like, if you don't want to run that day, they'll find someone else. Like, don't be romantic about your place in it. You got to like, that's why it's good about building your profile, building your star, and pushing it all forward, because it all works together rather than like secular.
Yeah. Do you try and promote like the use of social media within your fighters then? Because I saw that Lerone's got like thousands and thousands of followers. Same with Lewis as well. Lewis has got thousands.
Yeah, Lewis is massive on TikTok.
Do you try and encourage that as well to try and future-proof them?
Your profile's important. I don't have to with a lot of them. I don't have to, because it's just the generation now, isn't it? Everyone's on Instagram, they're on Reels, they're on about light. I know more about lighting, about where to take a pic, because I've took so many pictures for people. That's the only thing I do know. I wouldn't say that I think it's a massive part of it. It's like such a big part of this. Like, now everyone's a bit more voyeuristic because of your phone, aren't they? Everyone's like forever looking at the phone and like inhaling content and stuff like that. So in order to build your profile, you got to building your profile back in the day was getting on like a match of the day for a footballer or getting an interview with something. Whereas now you build your own profile. There's people out there that I don't have an idea. I could walk past them in the street and they've got like 500 million followers and stuff like that. And like it's not really my repertoire. I'm not about followers. I find like the word following a bit uncomfortable anyway. But it's a massive part of what you're gonna do, because like you want if your message is good and you want to become something. If you want to make money, which ultimately is a business. Like we've got to push that side of it.
It goes back to what you said before though about telling everyone your story. It's just an extra platform for them to do that now.
I suppose. And the story's ongoing then, isn't it? You can like really break down your day by day. I don't want to see what anyone's eating, but some people want to look at people's food, I guess, because enough people post about that. Yeah,
everyone's got. That's my girlfriend. Oh my god, she literally watches people trying every single food at like a. So I like Mackie's have a new menu. She will watch about 5 videos about this new menu, and I'm like, "Just go and eat it yourself." And she's like, "No, I want to see what it's like before I eat it." And it's just mental, isn't it, when you think about it? You're watching someone else eat.
That is mental, yeah. Because like, eating is just an individual thing. But yeah, and that's what fighters do on a weight cut. They watch cooking videos. I'm like, I don't really want to watch a cooking video right now. But like, I just want to like imagine that you're doing it as well, innit?
What is that weight cutting process like for you as a trainer? I've heard it quite a bit about different fighters, and it's always. Some people are like find it dead easy, some people find it dead hard. But as you as a trainer, how do you like try and influence more like
it's just
cardio,
what I do every Friday. It's just kind of what I do every Friday. I do a science experiment with one of my mates. I like put them in a bath, like Uncle Ben's boiling the bag of rice, and hopefully they lose enough water that they make.
You just do from there.
so no, I'm being a bit belligerent really, but we have it down to a fine science now. We've got a nutritionist in the gym who's an active member of the team, and she's fantastic. So she breaks down like the micros, macros, and got it down to a fine science. There's some people who struggle because of willpower.
Yes.
Like I can resist anything apart from temptation, isn't it? So if I'm at a house, like for me, I've got 3 daughters, so there's always chocolate in the house. I've got a couple of fighters who live with me as well. So when they're in fight camp, they're going in the cupboards and they could easily just grab some and have convenience. And some people don't have the willpower to say no, so they make the weight cut difficult. But it's not hard to make weight. Well, once you've done it a few times, it's not hard to make the weight. You can suffer. It's just suffering. Yeah, you get in the sauna, you just suffer. How much can you suffer? Go ahead. Go lie there while you suffer. We're tough people. We're hard. We can do it. But it's not about doing it that way. It's about doing it the smart way, because sometimes you get like a sticky 2 pound that might take an hour to get rid of, whereas that should be gone in like 30 minutes. But the only reason it's not gone is because you're not followed it to the letter. And also that in the last round, that hurts. Like the last round, that's where you're like, whoa, I feel like I'm getting a bit...
Yeah,
because of that last little bit of the weight cut you did the day before. You got to remember, it's just the day before.
Yeah.
So you can rehydrate, that's the science now, no problem with blood-brain barrier science, but there's going to be like a point of diminishing return because of what you've done. That's why you see, like, say, Zabit Magomedsharipov, yeah? The reason he had tough weight cuts because he didn't cut weight fantastically. So he'd get tired in the third round. So, like, the scouting report for him was, you got to weather the storm for the first 2 rounds and maybe you can get to him in the third round. You see, like, Makwan American did the same. He's strong for the first round and a half, but you can't, like, after that, it becomes a lesser version of himself. Because they've had hard weight cuts. Like saying that a lot of the Russian fighters especially, they're that tough. They just make weight anyway, but they won't do it in a professional way, which gives them... That's just performance, isn't it? I'm making weight to perform. I'm not making weight to make a weight. So I've got to do it the right way.
It's like with Hamza Chimaev as well, isn't it? Because obviously, like, I think the fight for Burns, he had to do a drastic weight cut.
Yeah, and he got tired, mate, yeah.
And then that's what I mean. That was probably his weakest performance out of the lot. And then if you look at the fight after where he missed weight by, I think it was like 5 pounds, something,
yeah, 7
wasn't it?
pounds, mate. Yeah.
And he stepped in and faced Haaland, was it?
Yeah.
Like, he literally threw him around like a ragdoll.
Yeah.
And like, Kevin Haaland's no joker. Like, you seen what he did last night? Yesterday, I mean.
Yeah, so it's just, it's them things in it. Again, it's like, I can make the weight, but can I perform at that weight? And can I rehydrate well enough to be the best version of myself and things like that? So it's the thing is, you're never going to eliminate it. Everybody wants to do away with weight cuts. Never going to eliminate it because people are always going to go for a professional advantage. No matter what sport it is, I'm trying to find that little decimal that puts me in a better position than you because I want to win.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does it ever come to a point where you recommend, like, to certain fighters weight classes based on that, though? Because obviously you say, like, it's people management to an extent, but also if they're going to struggle to cut that weight, do you also then...
It's best for you to stick a middleweight.
Yeah. Happiness management as well. Like you got, if you're not enjoying it, do something else. Yeah. And really, like if you're starving, like back in the day, we just cannibalized ourselves. We just starve ourselves that much. So Brad Pickett, for instance, when he was doing 57 kilos, he had to go for a 5K run before he could have his breakfast every day. So like your life's just suffering. Do you know what I mean? You're not living. You're just trying to get to a certain weight.
Jesus.
It's just disgusting. So I got a guy, heavyweight, Abram Babley, right? He's small at the weight. He's a small heavyweight in the fact that he's quite short and squat. His legs are massive. Yeah. So everybody that comes to see him, they go, "Oh, couldn't he make 205?" And I'm like, maybe, yeah.
Or he might not enjoy it.
But then he's going to hate his life, and he's not going to perform well. He's not going to learn well because it's not a fight camp; it's a weight loss camp.
Yeah,
and it's so definitely it's all. And his skill set is good because he's fast at the weight, so he has benefactors through that. So it's all like individual again. I would argue that Hamzat's better at 185 because he doesn't have to cut down to get to that position. And also 185 division isn't as good as the 170 division because like you got to think about this as like your general male probably would cut weight to be 145, 155. That's your standard human. Like all three of us here, if we was in fight condition, we'd probably be 145, 155. All right, so. Like straight away, there's that much of a talent pool that you got to like. The level's going to be crazy. You got to be good at striking. Got to be good at wrestling. You got to be good at all these things. But as you go up the weight classes, it diminishes. Like some people are specialists still at 185. They're just wrestlers. Whereas like heavyweight, you can hit hard and you're tough. You can do all right. You don't really have to have great wrestling. So it's like the higher you go up the weight classes, the less like the well-rounded skill set becomes. You know what I mean?
Unless you're John Jones, though.
Yeah.
On that extent.
But now he's a talented guy at heavyweight. He's just going to smash everyone.
Yeah, but he's just smart. He's just stupid, isn't he? He's a freak. He's a
whole family of freaks.
Yeah, you get fighters like that, don't you? Where you just look at me like you're just a freak.
But he was another guy who reinvented himself. Before he went away, everyone hated him. And then he came back and was like, "I love Jones. I've always loved Jones." Like, no, you didn't. It's like when the Stone Roses came back. The Stone Roses came back in Manchester, after 20 years of being away. And some of my mates I grew up with, they were like, "Yeah, I've always loved the Stone Roses." Like, I grew up with you. You never liked the Stone Roses. It's just cool to like the Stone Roses now. So it's cool to like John Jones now because he is the GOAT, isn't he?
There's certain people, like you said, there's some freaks like going back to City.
Oh, Haaland's a freak. I was just no one like him. I've never seen a man like him who is so strong but so slim.
Yeah,
he's just a freak.
Yeah, he's got good ups, both feet. Yeah, he's amazing. Well, another guy born to do it, weren't it? I think his dad must have just given him a ball from that kick.
Yeah, Project Messi.
Imagine if some people's parents are really involved in the kids, so they like play with him for 5 hours.
Yeah,
he must just had a ball at feet, like just non-stop, just kicking the ball,
moving around,
9 to 5.
So he's gonna be amazing, and he's still got some ways to go to be the best in the world, but his level's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, I just wanted to finalise on. I wanted to finish on one point. So there's one fighter who you've kind of trained with and you know quite well, Frank Mir.
Okay.
What is he like as a person? Because I find him fascinating. I used to watch him everywhere all the time, and
yeah, he's a very dangerous man. A very dangerous man, but no, such great company, mate. Yeah, and to say what he's like, he's one of my favourite people in the world. If I'm honest, he's always got like a good opinion on things. He's a smart guy, but he's receptive to feedback. So say if he's like setting his ways about something. For instance, right, he came over just before COVID, and I'm a big Trump fan. And he was like saying, no, I don't like Trump. He says all these things about disabled people. It's like, no, he didn't. If you watch it back and then watch how the media portrayed it and what he did and stuff like that. And then now he works for Trump. He works in the CPAC. So he's like
I didn't know that.
Raise money for the Republican Party and stuff like that. It's just a very capable man. Like obviously a very esteemed fighter, got some ridiculous knowledge in fighting, but like to be around him, just a great company, mate. Yeah, and always a good laugh from him, and on tour he's always good company, mate. Yeah, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him again soon. Like, yeah.
Interesting, lovely. Well, I think we should finish on that anyway, because I really enjoyed that. Thank you very much for coming up and joining us. It was
Cheers for coming down, yeah.
And then, anything you want to shout out? Manchester Top Team?
Shout out Offbeat Podcast. Keep subscribing and click the button down here or down here. I'm not sure what side.
He's a natural.
Well, yeah, if you Manchester Top Team. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on TikTok, I guess. So yeah, just get behind the message. We've got a documentary that's going to come out soon. So
nice.
It'll just detail all the fighters live. So it's all coming to a bit of a crescendo. So please, if you like you said, people want to follow things that are cool. Are going to be pretty cool in the next 6 to 18 months. So make sure you said I was there before they were cool, and gingers are never cool. So get behind me as well.
We've all got a ginger gene. We've all got a ginger gene here. And then your personal page is Carl Prince MMA, isn't it?
Cal Princegram. Yeah. On Instagram.
Perfect. Well, thank you very, very much, and we shall see you all next week. As I said, like, comment, and subscribe. 5-star review on Spotify as well. That really, really helps. I shall see you next week. Thank you.